Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our Skills Shop today, permits, programs, and resources. My name is Demishi Pai, and I will be your host today. Before we get started, I just want to go over a few housekeeping rules. This session will be recorded. All attendees will be muted. During the Skills Shop, please feel free to drop your questions into the Q&A feature. At the end, we will have time for questions and answers. Our panelists will be here to answer those questions for you. And of course, we will have a resource that you will be able to utilize and so that you have it for your event portfolio. Before we jump in, I'd like to share a little bit about my role. My name is Demishi Pai, and I'm the Community Impact Coordinator for Tacoma Venues and Events. And my role is to help create and cultivate partnerships with local schools, nonprofits, colleges, universities, and neighborhood associations. I also support the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration and City of Destiny Awards as well. Tacoma Venues and Events, some of you may have heard of us, some of you may not have heard of us, but we oversee and manage the Tacoma Dome, the Greater Convention Center, Cheney Stadium, the Pantages, Rialto Theater, and Theater on the Square. We also manage the special event and film permits and the event grant funding and recognition programs. The reason why we created the Skills Shop series is to provide resources and to help our community event planners execute impactful events. Joining us today, oh, I forgot, we have our poll question. Miss Ashley, my colleague, take it away.
All right, guys, we have our poll question just to get us started and do a little bit of an icebreaker today. Our hope here is that all of you understand all of the multiple measures it takes to put into a permit. So what is your permit spirit animal? Is it a street closure map? Is it the certificate of insurance? Is it the checklist for the checklist upon the several other checklists? Or is it the one that you forgot until 4 days before the event, but you swear you're going to get it in? I swear. All right, we'll just take a couple of minutes for y'all to submit your answers.
Okay. I just want to say thank you for keeping it real. I love this.
I've seen this super real. All right, I'll just give it a couple more people straggling in. All right, which one are you guys? It looks like we've got a pretty close tie here. The checklist for the checklist for the checklist, my type A's, I see you. Or the one you forgot until 4 days before the event, my ADHD fellow friends. So no judgment here because I am probably both as well. But these are all part of the really important parts of putting together events, especially when they're in our right of way and for our greater community. So appreciate y'all participating. All right, Demishi.
Yes, ma'am. I still have the poll up. So for our panelists today, I just want to say thank you so much for spending some of your time with us today to participate in our Skills Shop. We really do appreciate you being here today. Joining us, we will have Ashley Young, Tacoma Venues and Events, Lieutenant Vincente Robles with Tacoma Fire Department, Ryan Schroeder, Parks Tacoma, Michael Hubbard, City of Tacoma Tax and License, Amanda Peters, Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department, Anthony Kolvick, City of Tacoma Environmental Services. Thank you again for being here today. Ms. Ashley Young.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again. My name is Ashley Young. I'm the Special Events Coordinator for the City of Tacoma, and I work under Tacoma Venues and Events. My role is that I oversee the event and film permits that take place within the City of Tacoma, especially those for events that are in the public right of way, which includes streets, sidewalks, medians, etc. Special events allow us to have these big, large public gatherings. And then I also do film permits for any motion pictures that take place inside of Tacoma. My second half of my role is that I am the staff liaison for the City Events and Recognitions Committee. That is a volunteer-based group made of our 5 districts and our at-larges, and they assist in producing 2 events, the City of Destiny Awards and the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. In addition, they provide grant funding for community events that take place within our city, and also I support Demishi in the SkillShops program. So today we're going to go over some frequently asked questions. And so I came up with a list of fun ones that I thought would be beneficial to you folks. So we're just going to go through them one by one, but then afterwards, feel free, or even during, drop any additional questions you have for us in the Q&A section, and we'll be able to get to them as soon as we're all done presenting. So first question is, when do I need to apply for a special event permit? So per our municipal code, for commercial events, which are anything but neighborhood block parties, your documentation has to be submitted 60 calendar days before your event date. This gives enough time for internal review, departmental feedback, and any necessary revisions. Residentials don't need to apply, so those are your neighborhood block parties, don't need to apply until 30 days before the event date. Especially for events though that are requiring street closures. So anything that you're totally barricading off the street, if you need fire inspections or police, we recommend that you actually apply 90 days in advance. This way it can avoid any delays. So during those 60 and 30-day marks, you have to have your traffic control plan and your site map at minimum submitted. So if you apply 90 days in advance and you don't have those documents, you have a lot of questions, it gives us time to work with you. And then for constitutionally protected events, such as marches and rallies, you submit as late as 7 days prior to the date of your event. So next question, when will I know if I can move forward with planning my event? Well, once you submit your application, it enters a multi-department review process, and this is where you can begin tentatively planning. However, your permit is likely not going to be issued until much closer to your event. And if you were to plan your event and their permit is not issued, any incurred costs during that planning process would not be the responsibility of the city. My recommendation is you start reaching out to me as early as possible, and we can have some one-on-one conversations to figure out exactly what you're going to need. So our planning and development service and our special event review committee will also be able to reach out with any questions or requests for revisions during your process. And then you'll receive your official notification once the application has been reviewed and the event is approved, with or without conditions. And those conditions can vary from radium barriers, requirements for police, etc. And you have to meet all those permit requirements and submit those necessary documents before the permit can be issued, and you have to pay. Sometimes people forget about that part, but yes, also required to pay. So third question, what information and documents do I need before? And I underline the word before I submit my permit application. Well, not every document that I'm about to list is going to be needed at this time of submission. I want to focus on those ones first. So the information that you'll need when you apply, so that's before you submit, is a site map showing the layout of your event space. Where are you going to put stages? Where are you going to put tents? Are you going to have vendor booths, portable restrooms? Where are your entrances and exits going to be? Are you going to have a beer garden? What's the perimeter of that beer garden? All of that needs to be laid out in a site map for me to review and show to the review committee. You'll also need to have your traffic control plan. That is the identifying barricades and signs that will be required to be put out to safely have people navigate around your event. And I strongly encourage you to come to our next skill shop, because we're going to get more in depth about traffic control plans and barricades. You'll also need to have some sort of preliminary event schedule, when your event is going to start and end, and when your use of the right-of-way is going to start and end. Estimated attendance numbers, some sort of a plan for first aid or crowd management and security. Those questions are in the application. What is your solid waste plan, including dumpsters, portable restrooms? If you are doing amplified sound, if you have any sort of planning around that. And those are the important things. If you're going to have food, if you're going to sell alcohol, these are all the questions that are going to be answered in your application process that will be shared with the review committee as soon as you submit. Some other items that you will need after you submit, but they're not due until closer to your event, is liability insurance, listing the city of Tacoma as the additional insured. And then us as a review committee work together to make sure that you have your health permits, alcohol permits, fire permits, parks permits, so that you're in compliance fully before your permit is issued. So what does a special event permit allow me to do? Well, a special event permit allows you to legally use public spaces and public right-of-ways for temporary activities that fall outside of normal public use. You can use the right-of-way, such as streets, plazas, sidewalks for your event. You can close the street if you would not like to have vehicle traffic come through. And then the whole process will allow you to get in front of a review committee so that you can get your other permits that include serving or selling alcohol, bringing in food trucks, bringing in vendors, amplified sounds, and the occupancy and assembly permits that fire requires. So I've kind of listed these people over and over again, but I think it's important that we constantly emphasize this. Who helps approve a special event permit? So the review committee is made up of several different departments and agencies. For my permit specifically, the review team includes anybody that is going to consider how the right-of-way is used. So our traffic department, our street operations department, then I also have police department, and I also include public transit because it's really important to maintain public transit during events. But then we have a lot of other folks that have their own requirements and permits, and you'll meet quite a few of them today. But fire department, and then tax and licensing, the health department, Liquor and Cannabis Board, Sound Transit, Parks Tacoma. These are all some of the people. Emergency management is a part of it. A lot of our public works departments are also a part of that review process, just to make sure that we have like the proper checks and balances for when these spaces are used and that all of these permits and licenses are acquired. So I also want to share with you folks today a resource. This is something that will help you keep track of all of the different contacts that you'll need and all the different permits and licenses. So I'm sharing with you a Word document that we will make available on our SkillShop website. And this is what I call your special event engagement plan. Here, this will have your event information, the name of the event, the date, location, etc. This is something that can be shared amongst your organization, or it can be shared with other organizations and agencies so that you're having like a concise and consistent communication plan. And then it asks if your event will include any of these, and then you can mark an X by any that apply, such as street closures, tents, live music, alcohol, food, stages, fireworks, security, solid waste. And it goes on. And what I like to do is make these documents editable so that you can also add your own items here, something that's unique to you and your event. Next on here, we have who do you need to work with? So as you're identifying these different elements of your event, there may be agencies or departments that will require something from you. So special events office, if your event is in the public right of way, the fire department, if you have assembly permits or you're using propane or you have a large canopy, the health department for your food vendors, tax and licensing for your other vendors, public transit for any detours that are going around your event, liquor and cannabis board for your beer garden. And here in this column, you can identify what service or items are needed from that department, who the point of contact is, their email, and their phone number. And this is a great tool to help you keep track of all of these different requirements. Because even me just talking about my presentation right now, I'm like, ugh, that's so much. And I need to use tools like these to keep track myself. So then some other items we have on here is a timeline. So what tasks are required, what department you'll work with to accomplish that task, what are some dates and deadlines that needs to happen, like special event permits need to be submitted 60 days in advance. When do you need to apply for green event services? When do you need to have your vendors have their business license? When do you need to submit your assembly permits, temporary assembly permits, and then maybe some due dates of when you'll receive them. I expect to receive this by this day. Inspections for fire come on the day of the event. Same with some of the health department ones where they don't already have their permit issued. And then notes to help you keep track. And then, like I said, this can be an externally facing document too. So we also have who's the communication person in charge of this and who's the primary point of contact. And then how do they like to keep informed with email, post meetings, on-site walkthroughs, post-event debriefs, and then always reflect. Feedback makes us better every single time we come back to this. And this is a place where you can document those challenges, document what changes, what additional support or information did you probably need. And then I like this one here, right here. Maybe you had a particularly hard time with one department. Identify that, and that way you can strategize how you're going to work with them moving forward. So this is our engagement plan template. Again, this will be on the SkillShops page when we complete the SkillShop here for you to download and use as you would like. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, my name's I'm actually the new deputy fire marshal for City of Tacoma, the fire department, Vincente Robles. I'm in charge of special events permitting right now. I collect the permits and distribute them to other inspectors who will come to your events the day of the events. Usually they show up around 30 minutes before the event starts, and that's when you would actually get your permit from us after we make sure that all safety things have been taken care of in the event. Some quick questions, frequent asked questions. Where can you obtain the permit needed by the Tacoma Fire Department for your event? Uh, you can go on to the Tacoma Fire Department website, and under quick links, you'll be able to click on that to obtain permits. You can also email us at tfdseo@cityoftacoma.org, or you can give us a phone call at 253-591-5740. And those are all ways to get a hold of someone to do your permitting. Next question, what is the billing process? A couple of ways to save money as far as billing. If you are a nonprofit and you're a 501c form, you can send that to us, and that will waive most of the permits. If I give you an example, you're a market and you have outdoor cooking, you have large tents, you have food trucks, you need a temporary assembly permit. So those are 4 permits. But if you're 501c, we're only going to charge you for the temporary assembly. So that can save you a lot of money as far as permitting. Uh, if you are a multi-day event, say you are every Saturday for the summer, you'll only pay for the permits once. You need to put all your dates on the permit 30 and get that to us 30 days in advance. And then you're only going to have one permit for the entire summer. We will come every Saturday. We come to every time you have the event, but it's only charged one time for the events. Um, Next question, what are the different types of permits that Tacoma Fire requires? I'll go over the basic ones. You have your outdoor cooking permit, which covers if you're cooking with propane, your food truck. We inspect the food trucks every time we come to the event. We require you to have your hood system cleaned once a year, your suppression for your hood system done once a year, your fire extinguisher is done. We check the propane tanks, make sure that they are not older than 12 years. If they're older than 12 years, then you need to have them recertified every 5 years. And then after 25 years, they need to be retired and you need new propane tanks. Um, the next permit, temporary special events permit. If you're gathering more than 100 people at one time, you need a temporary special events permit. Uh, Next would be the tent permit. If you have a 400 square foot tent with the walls on the side of them, then you need a tent permit. If you have a 700 square foot tent without walls on them, then you need a tent permit. People we see a lot of the events are the markets like the haunted market or the Proctor market where you have multiple 10 by 10 tents pop-ups throughout the market. You need to make we come and make sure that you have 15 pounds of weights on each leg so that they don't blow away and they don't strike someone and cause injury. um, if you have a fire dancer, you need an open flame permit so that we are there to watch the entire performance. Um, and if you're doing any kind of fireworks, you need a pyro permit so that we can watch the event. Um, and I've already gone over when will you receive the permits. We have the inspector come approximately 30 to 60 minutes before the event, depending on what kind of event it is. They will walk the event, fill out the permit. If there's no problems, they're going to give you the permits. If there are problems that they find, they have an additional paper where it is a liability paper that you are going to sign and the inspector is going to sign, and they're going to write down what things need to be fixed, and you're going to say that you are going to get these items fixed for safety. And that's about it from the Tacoma Fire.
All right, thank you so much, Vicente. Next up, we have Ryan Schroeder with Parks Tacoma.
Good. I'm on mute. I'm Ryan Schroeder. I'm the regional event supervisor for Parks Tacoma. I also have problems saying no to things, so I'm board president for the Wanda Fika Foundation of the Arts, Port Angeles Concerts on the Pier, and Dungeness Crab Festival, and have been doing this for 25 years. So there's a lot of other things on there. I oversee our large scale events that happen in Parks Tacoma. So that'd be the Point Defiance Flower and Garden Festival, the 4th of July Summer Blast, and Mosaic, which is Tacoma's Arts and Culture Festival. On top of producing all of those, I also advise our permit committee and team on permit protocols. And also, when a large permit comes through, I kind of step in and help make sure they're meeting all of our requirements and all of those fun things. The just like Ashley, when is a parks Tacoma special use permit required? We have very similar requirements for our permit process. If your gathering is more than 50 people, if you have tents over 400 square feet, if there's amplified sound, stages, vendor booths, generator, if your event is promoted to the public on social media or a website or anything like that. If you're collecting a fee for participation, whether that's a fee to run in a fun run or 5K or for a gated concert or things like that, all of those require one of our special use permits. And those are on our website. They are due 30 days in advance of the event. And then those go through a permit review process with most of the people in or presenting today, very similar to what the city's permit process is like. The next two questions that we get a lot are very similar to one another. I have a City of Tacoma permit. Why do I need a Parks Tacoma permit? I have a Parks Tacoma permit. Why do I need a city permit? Any activity that's taking place on Parks Tacoma property or a facility requires one of our permits. So if you are doing a long run through the city and either your start point or your end point or somewhere in the middle passes through or is on a piece of parks property, then our permit is required so that we can review it and make sure that our requirements are being met for that permit. And then same thing for the other way. If you're having an event, say at Wright Park, and you spill out and need to do a traffic plan, or you touch the right of way in any way. So if you go beyond our borders, essentially, that's when a special use permit from the city is required. Parks and city are separate entities. Parks Tacoma is an independent parks district, so we have our own list of things that we need. Brings us to the next question of are there different requirements between Parks Tacoma permits versus City of Tacoma special events permits? Not really. We've done a really good job at trying to mirror all of our requirements. So certificate of insurance that names us as additionally insured, safety plans, fire plans, your attendee plan, evacuation plans, those types of things are all very, very similar. We've done this in order to make the permit process easier for everybody, so you're not having to go out and do a bunch of different things. So if you have met all of our requirements, it's very easy to apply for a City of Tacoma permit. If you have already applied for your City of Tacoma permit and you're applying for one of ours, those same elements can be applied for our permit. And again, you only need a Parks Tacoma permit when you're on just our property, but if you spill off of it into the right of way, that's when that permit is required from the city. One of the other questions that we get a lot is, can I hold my event at any of Parks Tacoma's parks or facilities? And that not really. It depends on what the event is. We have both regional parks, which are like Point Defiance Park, Swan Creek, Wright Park. These parks are pretty much open to any size event and any type of an event. But we also have like community and neighborhood parks that are small parks that are located in usually residential neighborhoods. And we have different restrictions on these. So some of them might not allow alcohol. Some of them might have caps on the number of attendees for an event. All of that information is at parkstacoma.gov. Where we've tried to outline the different facility uses in there. That's really what I've got.
Appreciate you, Ryan. Thank you so much. Once again, if you do have any questions, please use that Q&A feature so that we can answer those at the end of the presentation. Next, we have Michael Hubbard. Michael.
Hey there, my name is Michael Hubbard, and I'm a compliance officer for the City of Tacoma, and I work in tax and license. My role mostly includes education and enforcement of City of Tacoma business licensing requirements and tax collection. Probably the most common question we get asked is, do I need a business license? And generally all businesses operating in or soliciting business in the city limits of Tacoma are required to be registered and licensed with Tacoma. You need to register with the city if you are located within the city's limits. You solicit or conduct business in Tacoma, whether directly or through a representative, or you do business with the city through contracts. This license is in addition to any state licensing requirement. So if you have a state state license to operate a business license, you also need a City of Tacoma business license. In addition to a general business license, some business activities require a regulatory license, such as sidewalk vending, entertainment, dancing, food trucks, temporary events, or others. There's a list on our website with some exceptions that you'll need to get this regulatory license for. So it's in addition to the general business license. How quickly can I get a business license? In most situations, you can receive your business license in the same day, but some applications require review that may take up to 15 days. So it's better to get it beforehand, so apply to give yourself plenty of time. We do have staff available at the municipal building if you need something immediately. So most situations, you get it that same day. Another common question is, do I have to pay tax? Tacoma does levy a business and occupation tax on businesses with gross receipts exceeding $250,000 annually. So if your business makes less than that, there's no filing requirement below that threshold. But there is also additional tax for other things like utility services, admissions, and gambling that are calculated separately from gross receipts and may need to be submitted even if gross receipts are under the $250,000 threshold. So if your business makes less than $250,000, but you're requiring attendees to pay admissions, you'll still need to pay admissions tax. So that filing requirement comes into play there. Another question would be, what types of licenses do event organizers need to have? And what about vendors? So event organizers need to have a City of Tacoma general business license, but they may also need a regulatory license depending on the type of activity that they're doing. The most common one is the temporary event multi-vendor license, which you can obtain in lieu of each vendor obtaining a separate license of their own. The license fee is $5 per vendor per day. So it's a way for kind of smaller vendors to participate without paying the full license fee, and the promoter or organizer can pay that on their behalf. There are some exceptions for this license requirement, which includes things like farmers, or if your business makes less than $2,000 per year. So it may not be required, but it's something that you will need to look into and submit in lieu of them getting their own license. Last question would be, what happens if a vendor or event organizer does not obtain a license before the event? So operating without a business license is considered a violation of Title VI of the Tacoma Municipal Code, and citations can be assessed. So a citation will be issued to you for operating. If there are safety concerns, summary suspension may be issued and the business will be closed and the event will not be able to continue. So it's very important to get the proper licensing and make sure your event is considered safe and you're licensed to operate before the date of your event.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael. Really appreciate that. Next, we have Amanda Peters.
Hello, everyone. I oversee all of the temporary event and farmers market permitting in Pierce County. So any event that happens within Pierce County, from Tacoma out to Ashford and Eatonville and Greenwater out to Gig Harbor, the whole county. I am responsible for issuing the permits and approving them, and then ensuring that the inspectors have all the information they need to go and do the inspections. Some of the most frequently asked questions that we get, who's required to have a permit? So if your event is advertised or open to the public, meaning anybody can walk by, see your event, they can stop and participate, buy food, or make a donation, or if it's advertised using any public form of media, so social media, flyers, A-frame signs, reader boards, then it is required to have a permit. If you are holding a private party where you're sending out, 50 invitations to people and you're having a private event, much like you would have a private event at your house, like a barbecue, that type does not require a temporary permit. But if it is
I don't know about anyone else, but Amanda is frozen for me.
Yeah, it looks like she is frozen, unfortunately.
Amanda, can you hear us? Okay, sorry about that, everyone. We're going to go to the next presenter, and hopefully Amanda can come back. We have Anthony. Anthony.
Hello. Hey,
Thank you.
so my name's Anthony, and just real quick, a little bit about who I am, what I do. So I'm here with the City of Tacoma Solid Waste Management. I've been kind of working with trash since 2019. Kind of fell into it after my time in the military, but so I've gotten a chance to work both private and city organizations, and kind of in a nutshell, I've worked with both residential and commercial properties, um, garbage, recycling, yard waste, deliveries, removals, transfer station, roll off and drop box services, long haul tractor trailer, even demolition. Um, right now, or a couple of my responsibilities include special events, coordinating through solid waste, as well as some technology on our trucks, call to haul. I could keep going, but again, really, the point there, I work a lot with anything trash related. I always, a lot of times, end my phone call with, if you need any other help with your trash, let me know. So, with that being said, going on to some frequently asked questions, and this is really keyed around, special events that are curious about solid waste service. If you've got an event and you're curious, do I need garbage, recycling, food waste services, and also how much? What do I need? This is kind of a loaded question, if I'm being honest. I don't have a textbook answer. I don't use an exact formula or anything like that. But what I always say is just ask. If you ask myself, or if you have maybe someone within your organization that's done this event in the past, the best thing is to just ask. What I do specifically is I will look at either the event from last year or the last few years or a similar event, and I take my best guess, and that's truly the best method. But we do consider some things. How many days is your event? Is this an entire weekend, or is this one day? Do you have a lot of people coming to this? Are we expecting thousands, or are we expecting 50? And so that's put into consideration as well. And then also, is this in a public area? Is this somewhere that already has garbage service present? Are we planning on using that service that's already present? So all of those things are to be considered. So again, it is kind of a loaded question, but it is probably the most common. So those are the factors that we weigh. The next kind of frequently asked question I get is, do we offer like a sponsorship program? And yes, we absolutely do. So for any event within the city of Tacoma, we can get you garbage, recycling, or food waste services. In order for it to be sponsored, though, the most simple answer I can give you is it's got to be open to the public, and it's got to be, free and open to the public, and it's got to be within city limits. I have had events apply for sponsorship in the past that are just outside of city limits. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that. We really stay within the city limits. I can always give you recommendations on who to look for. I've like I've said, I've been in the garbage industry for a minute now, so I have outside resources I could try to help you get in contact with, but it's got to be within the city. And I want to reiterate, it's got to be free and open to the public. What does that mean? Well, do you have a door fee or an entry fee? Do they have to have a membership, like a paid membership, in order to be part of whatever it is we're doing here? So it's got to be free. I got to be able to walk down the sidewalk and walk right into your event free of charge, with no obligation financially. That would be free and open to the public. If that's the case, go ahead and apply. To apply for a sponsorship through solid waste or environmental services, I'm going to tell you the long way and the short way. I've got it bookmarked right here. So on the City of Tacoma website, you're going to look for government, and then departments. Under departments, you're going to find environmental services. Under that, you're going to find grants and sponsorships. Under that, you're going to click on green events. And once you are into the green events page, you will see a yellow button that says, yellow-orange button that says apply now. Once you click on apply now, it does open up a fairly simple application. This is really fill in the blank. We've put stars on everything that must be filled in. And it is fairly specific, but the great piece, when you open up this application at the very top, if you have any questions, there's an email up there. It goes to me and a few others that are tied to solid waste events, and we can answer those. I would say once you email that with any questions, I will probably get back to you within a day or two max, unless I'm on vacation or anything. So I strongly recommend that. The short way to get, I know that was a lot of clicking. The short way, go to the City of Tacoma website, and you can either search green events or event sponsorship. Both of those are going to bring you 1 to 2 clicks away, 1 to 2 results away from that application. So that's how I do it. So that's my recommendation. My next question, what information do I need before I apply for an event? So really, the easiest way to do it is just sneak into the application early and start seeing what's required. But the main thing that I really need is contact information. And when I say contact information, I mean, who is the person we can get in contact with if there's a change, or maybe I'm going to be late on delivering your containers, or hey, we're at the site, but the gate's locked. This is going to be the main point of contact. So we're talking name, phone number, email, useful contact information. Don't put a blanket email or something that's not going to be answered. These are the contact pieces that we need for like day of type of stuff. And then the address of the event and the delivery location. And the reason those are both listed, sometimes the event might be at a park, but the delivery location might be south of that park at a specific address. So many times they're the same address, sometimes they're different. We want to make sure we deliver these containers or whatever it is you need from solid waste. We want to make sure we put them at the right spot. And then we also need some kind of map. The best way I recommend a screenshot, a snapshot of a Google map, just showing an icon of where. Give us a general idea. This can be changed after the application. And to be honest, anyone that might be hearing me right now that's applied in the past, there's a chance that I've modified your map for our delivery crew anyways. But your map into this application is really to just give us an idea and kind of point out, hey, this is where it's at, just to eliminate any confusion on the address or any other piece of your application. The other piece, when we're talking information for applying, need to consider that solid waste services, we do not operate on the weekend. So if your application or if your event is on a Saturday, you must expect that we are going to deliver whatever it is you're asking for on a Friday, and we are going to be removing that stuff on a Monday. If you have several days in your event, don't worry about that. Chances are it's going to line up just fine. But I would say I see a lot of Saturday and Sunday events. We'll be there Friday to deliver, and we'll be there Monday to remove, or any other weekday. And then, sorry, I'm just checking my notes here. Oh, and if you're requesting any kind of like portable toilets or anything, which can be done through this application, portable toilets, hand washing stations, anything like that, you just put your best guess on what you believe you need. Once the application is through, all the portable toilet and hand washing stations are handled through, we're kind of the middle person in that. It's actually handled through United Site Services. And so if anyone needs that contact, that email on the application, we'll get that for you. I know that's kind of vague, but I am the middle person on that. So that would be the best way to do it, is request that information if you need to ask anything else toilet wise. And then, sorry, last piece on that is we offer 90-gallon size of our garbage, recycling, and food waste containers, as well as 300-gallon garbage containers. So we really can work around your sponsorship. I guess it does come back to how many people, where it is, how long it is, and that'll help us determine the size of containers. How much notice do you need to get containers at my event? Okay, so this next question, when it comes to timeline, 30 days. 30 days is the timeline to get your application in. It's a pretty strict timeline, and the reason is, I mean, all the chaos I just mentioned when it comes to toilets and hand washing stations. We might be changing or editing a map. We're determining a delivery day, a removal day. We really need some time for this. So if you are applying 30 days before the event, if you don't get it in within the 30 days, a few seconds after you apply, you are going to get a denial email. So it's that quick. If you do miss the window, good news and bad news. Bad news is you won't be sponsored for green events through solid waste. The good news, you can still reach out and we can still get you those services, but it is going to come at you know, the rate of what someone would normally pay. So it just wouldn't be sponsored. It wouldn't be free. And then the last question I have, so the application does put an emphasis on recycling. Many times an event can become contaminated with the recycling. I've actually personally been to some of these events where we're sponsoring it, and I've seen garbage, glass being put in recycling, a lot of things that aren't accepted in recycling. Couple things. Number one, you can find it online, or I can share it. We have a ton of flyers and visual aids for what is and isn't accepted for recycling. So I can totally share that. You can look it up and see the visual aids. The second thing, if it's contaminated a significant amount, you are at risk of being charged or denied for future events. So it's very important. Part of the application, you do have to answer kind of an obligation that you're going to do your best to maintain a clean recycling container or containers. That's what we ask. I would hope that everyone would be on the same page with keeping Tacoma clean, and that starts with keeping our recycling clean. But if you're curious about how I can get flyers for my event, on the application, you can actually add a note. Again, I want to keep throwing this out there. Use that email, ask about flyers. I can get them. I can laminate them for you even. I want to do anything I can to keep it clean. So that's the piece on contamination. And yeah, that's all the trash talk I want to give you today. So thank you.
I'm sure you can come up with so many puns, Anthony. I think it's hilarious.
For sure.
All right. Thank you so much. That was great information. I definitely learned a lot. Amanda was able to come back in and join us. So if we can get Amanda set up. Welcome back, Amanda.
So sorry for that. Of course, in the middle of talking, all of a sudden the whole screen goes black and the computer just shuts off. I was like, wow, that was interesting. So I do apologize. Gotta love technology.
Absolutely.
All right. So I think I got the first one of who's required to have a permit. Vendors do need to submit their applications at least 14 days in advance to avoid a late fee. However, from the side of the event coordinator, it's always good for the event coordinator to give me the list at least 3 or 4 weeks before the event, so I can send out a reminder email to all of your food vendors so that they have an opportunity to apply before they do pay that late fee. I will send them information on that they need a permit and how to apply and a link to our website. You can apply for your permit 3 different ways. You can come in our front counter. We still take applications in person, Monday through Friday from 8 to 4. You can also apply on our website. If you go to the health department's website at tpchd.org, under the temporary event page, you'll see a link that will walk you through the website that hosts our online application. And you can also still apply by mail. Just sometimes mail can be a little tricky. You do have to get that postmark date at least 14 days before the event in order to avoid a late fee. And you can mail in a business check or a money order, but we obviously can't take a card or cash through the mail. The best way to reach out to someone is to email. You can email our general line at food@tpchd.org. Or if you want to give us a call, there is a very specific phone line for all temporary events and farmers markets that is 253-649-1703. That line rings directly to my desk. If you leave a message, I will try to get back to you within 1 business day or best of my ability. Anyway, if you do have a question and you'd rather ask it in person, we do have staff available every day that our office is open. You can walk into our main counter here at the health department and say you have a question, and someone will come out and answer your question directly in person. Can I prepare food that is served to the public at home? The answer to that is technically no. So the only way that you can prepare food at home to serve or sell to the public is if you have a cottage food license from the Washington State Department of Agriculture. And that food is limited to shelf-stable baked goods and a few other items. It's very specific when the law was passed for cottage food, when WSDA took over the regulatory authority of that, because at the health department, we operate under our WAC that's based on the FDA code that says nothing can be made at home, so we can't go into your home to inspect. But if you're doing an event or fair or festival, and your menu does require advanced menu preparation, you can make the food at an approved kitchen. That approved kitchen can be anything like a restaurant, a church, a community center, or a commissary kitchen that is licensed and approved. The kitchen that you prepare the food at doesn't necessarily have to be in Pierce County. If you are based out of King County or Thurston or Kitsap and you have an approved kitchen there, you can provide me with that information and I can verify that you have access and that it is approved to do the type of food prep that you need. The key is for any event coordinator is to always reach out in advance. Once you start the permitting process and you may not know who your food vendors are, you can always reach out to me and I can let you know what I need. My role is to help your food vendors get their licenses in advance. Nothing makes for more of a stressful event than a vendor the day before an event realizes they don't have a food permit and they have to come in and pay an extra late fee and try to quickly get it. They may not know the requirements. They may have to go buy additional equipment. If you provide me your vendor list 3 or 4 weeks before the event with their email addresses, I will take over that whole part of it for you. I will reach out to the vendors and I will make sure they know that to get the permit. And as we get closer to the event, I will say, hey, there's 2 on your list that haven't complied yet. You may want to reach out to them to give them a reminder as well, so that we're both giving them reminders. And then prior to the event, I will give you the A-OK that everybody on your list is approved and you're good to go. Nothing makes for a more stressful event than when the health department shows up to inspect and we were expecting 4 food vendors and we have 8 and 4 of them don't have licenses. There's a way for us to issue a same-day permit, but it does require a lot of stuff because we have to make sure the food is made in an approved location. And if the vendor didn't go through the permitting process, it's likely that they may not understand the requirements and they may not be able to meet the minimum sanitation requirements for us to issue a permit. So working with us in advance is the best way. Now, if you add a last minute vendor, you can reach out to me and I will still do my best to get them to get a permit. And I will let you know who's approved and who's not. And then as the event coordinator, if I say, hey, this person didn't get a permit, it's your responsibility to not let them set up. And then we can always provide any sort of question and answer or any assistance we can for you for the requirements so that you understand what the vendors have to do, and then for helping the vendors directly as well. So they're not having to get information through different people. They can come directly to us and we can provide all that resources for the food safety and the permit.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amanda. And I'm
course.
so happy you were able to rejoin us.
Me
That was-
too. I was like, man, the screen just went completely blank. What just happened?
that was some great information. Thank you for sharing.
Of course.
Now it is time for our Q&A. My colleague Gerald has been monitoring that. Gerald, do we have any questions for our panelists?
Yes, we do. I know one of them got answered by Ryan. It was like, if we're doing an event on Tacoma Parks property, do we also have to apply for a city special event permit if we already have a permit with the park? So I believe that was already answered. Also, another question that we have is there a fee assessed for fire inspectors who would have to come to an evening or weekend event?
Great question. Vicente.
So that's part of the permit fee. So when you apply for the permit and you pay for that, that covers the inspector to come on the weekend or at evening. If your event is during the work week and you have multiple permits, we'll usually lower the price of the permits because we're already at work. So we don't charge for all the permits. You might get charged for one of them.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you. Another question on the Q&A is solid waste sponsorship the free bins that are available through green events? And are there other sponsorships possibilities for high cost elements of or event organization, primarily for barriers and police? This might be open and question to everyone, so.
So solid waste sponsorship is the free bins through green events. So yes, that is, we are talking about the same thing. And before I move further, I will say it's kind of in the middle of a rebrand or a retitle. So you might see it as green events. You might see it as solid waste event sponsorship. But let me be clear, that's totally the exact same thing. So it kind of answers the first part. And then are there other sponsorship possibilities for high cost elements? That might be when we open the door to other speakers here. But I will say, I just want to reiterate, if you can't get sponsorship through our green events application, let's say your event does have, an entry fee, or it's just not eligible for free services, you can always reach out to me and we can at least discuss, or I could get you a quote about what kind of solid waste services you might need, and I can give you a ballpark, and we can work around how to get you solid waste services, any kind of dumpsters. If we want to talk about drop boxes or anything like that, we can totally move forward with that. Just, of course, it wouldn't be under the sponsorship side if you're not eligible. So, but I don't know if there's outside sponsorship, and that might be another speaker in here. I'm not sure.
So I can speak to other funding sources for special events. The City Events and Recognitions Committee, which is the committee I oversee, distributes funding for special events every year. It is a highly competitive process, and you can find more information under Tacoma Venues Events under special event funding. We are currently in our 2025 cycle, and we usually open applications for the following year around end of summer. So August, September is traditionally when we open it up, depending on our staff schedules. This year we just distributed $90,000 to 26 events. In addition to applying for special event funding during that same period of time, you can apply to be what we're calling a designated event under our City Event Services program. eligible events can receive either equipment at no cost or equipment and personnel such as police and deployment of equipment at no cost. I will say that there's pretty strict eligibility requirements. First and foremost, you must be a 501c3. But you can find more information again under Tacoma Venues and Events. If you click on special events and then go to city event services, you can see the eligibility there. And you apply for city event services at the same time you apply for special event funding. It is the same application. There's just a second section for the city event services that you would continue to apply. And even if you do not receive funding, as long as you are eligible, your name will be passed along to be approved as a designated event for the event services. That decision is made by our city manager's office. The funding comes from our events and recognitions committee, so it is a two-step process. And I'm happy to talk to anybody, and there's lots of information on our website about that.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks, Ashley. Another question, just one just came in, is if we have food trucks for our event, do the food trucks themselves apply for the outdoor cooking permit and their own health department permits since they travel around with the food truck and likely should have those permits anyway? This might be for Amanda.
Yeah, I can take part of it. I can't really speak to the outdoor cooking, the fire permit, but most of the food trucks, if they have an annual license here in Pierce County, then that annual permit will cover them to do your event. It's always a good idea for the coordinator to ask for a copy of the permit for the food truck so you can verify that they are licensed here in Pierce County. If you're not sure or they can't give you a copy, you can always email us and we can let you know if they are licensed. If you have a food truck coming from a different county, it's likely that they will need to get a temporary permit because food truck licenses are issued per county. Most of the food trucks will have a permit sticker on the back. It's going to say like TPCHD mobile and it'll have an expiration date. It will kind of look like a little license plate. It will be on the food truck. So if they have that, then they don't need to get a temporary permit. If they are a food truck that is not licensed by us annually and they operate under event permits, or if they're from out of county, then they would likely need to get an event permit. But when you send me your list, I will let you know, hey, these vendors already have annual permits with us. They're good to go. I can update you all of that once you send me the list. As far as a fire permit, I can't speak to that part, but the food trucks usually already have their fire permits and inspections as it's a part of the annual licensing.
With the fire department, the one permit, the people hosting the event, they have to get the outdoor cooking permit that covers everyone. So you would be asked how many people are cooking, and you would put, oh, I have 5 food trucks, I have 4 10x10 booths cooking, and that one permit would cover all of them. We kind of put the event coordinator responsible for the food trucks. If we go to a food truck and they don't have their systems done, we'll take a picture of it. We'll show it to the event coordinator. We will share it with each other back at the office. Usually we don't ask that person to leave. They're like, come to the next event, have your systems done. And because we don't take a license from every single food truck, because what's going to happen is if that coordinator of that event keeps letting that food truck come, then we're going to find that the people that are in charge of that event, because we have all your information. So again, you're responsible for the food trucks. The one permit covers the food trucks. We don't want 10 food trucks setting 10 different permits for us.
Cool. Thank you, Vicente. And then I think this question for just TV staff is where's the best place to get the contact information for all the specific speakers today?
Hey. Consider me your one-stop shop for all things special events. I oversee the review committee, so it's easy for me to pull in all the appropriate people instead of you having to find them one by one. But of course, we have on our Tacoma Venues and Events website under special event permits, all of the different departments in there, and there's usually a link to their website or some sort of contact information. Also, like, we are in the middle of revamping a lot of our processes. That includes our website and how it will be displayed. So these will become more up to date as we continue on in 2025. So keep looking out for new fun updates, especially at our next skill shop. We will talk more specifically and intimately about City of Tacoma permits, and we'll get into the transportation, traffic control, site maps, etc. Side of things. But yes, you can find my information probably sprinkled in everything you've seen today. I'm happy to drop it wherever is convenient, or Gerald can put it in the follow-up. But ayoung1@tacomavenues.org. Email is 100% the best way to get in touch with me. Phone is unfortunately the slowest way to get in touch with me. Email is much faster, but I can also do one-on-ones virtually with you, and that way we can get more comfortable about these topics and kind of get in depth if you'd like. So please consider me a resource.
Cool. Thank you, Ashley. And we got two more. Thank you for all the questions. One is from Matt, and if we are responsible for the vendor fire permit requirements, what should we ask them to be sure that they're okay? So, Vicente?
When you download the outdoor cooking permit, is at the very last page is gonna have kind of a checklist for the food trucks to go through. You would give that to them. They should go through the checklist. They're supposed to sign it, saying that they meet all this list, and then they're supposed to give it to you as the person in charge of the event, and that's for your files, saying that they agree that they have everything checked off for us before we get there.
Cool. Thank you for answering that. And then the last question, oh, it's more of a comment. It says, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for this. It's helpful. We appreciate that. So, that's it for the questions and answers portion. Passes back to Demishi.
Okay, I'm trying to turn on my screen. It's not allowing me to. So I want to say thank you. Hello. Thank you to our panelists again for participating and spending some of your day with us. I know everyone is extremely busy. I also want to thank our community event planners. Most of the time, you all are volunteers, and we appreciate you and the events that you put on for our community. And of course, thank you to my colleagues for helping with this skill shop and getting us through our skill shop. We have the next skill shop will be June 16th, 11 a.m. Like Ashley said, we're going to go deeper into permits for events in Tacoma and how to host events on Tacoma Street. So I hope that you join us for that, and we'll see you then. You have some time back to your day. Thank you so much for being here.